Socrates, born around 470 BCE in Athens, is one of the most influential figures in Western philosophy, despite leaving behind no written works of his own. Everything we know about him comes from his students, most notably Plato and Xenophon, and from the playwright Aristophanes. Socrates lived during a time of political tension in Athens, yet he chose a life of simplicity, wandering the city barefoot, engaging people in conversation, and questioning their assumptions. His method was not to lecture but to ask probing questions that revealed contradictions in people's beliefs. This made him both admired and disliked. Many saw him as a moral guide who encouraged deeper thinking, while others viewed him as a troublemaker who challenged traditional values. His commitment to truth and examination of life eventually led to his trial and execution. Yet his ideas survived through his students, shaping the foundations of ethics, logic, and critical inquiry. Socrates remains a symbol of intellectual courage and the belief that wisdom begins with recognizing one's own ignorance. The Socratic Method is one of Socrates' most enduring contributions to philosophy and education. Instead of giving answers, Socrates asked a series of questions designed to expose contradictions and push individuals toward clearer thinking. This method begins with a simple question, followed by deeper inquiries that challenge assumptions. Through this process, the person being questioned often realizes that their beliefs are not as solid as they thought. Socrates believed that true wisdom comes from acknowledging one's ignorance, and the method was a tool to guide people towards self-knowledge. Today, the Socratic Method is widely used in law schools, therapy, and classrooms to encourage critical thinking and dialogue. It teaches people to examine their beliefs, articulate their reasoning, and refine their ideas through conversation. More than a technique, it reflects Socrates' belief that philosophy is not about memorizing facts but about engaging in honest, open inquiry. This approach transformed philosophy from abstract speculation into a living practice of questioning, reflection, and intellectual humility. Socrates believed that the central purpose of human life was the pursuit of virtue. For him, virtue was not about following rules or pleasing the gods but about cultivating the soul. He argued that people do wrong not out of evil intent but out of ignorance, because they do not truly understand what is good. Therefore, knowledge and virtue are deeply connected. Socrates also emphasized the importance of self-examination. His famous statement, "The unexamined life is not worth living," reflects his belief that individuals must constantly reflect on their actions, motives, and values. He encouraged people to look inward, question their desires, and align their lives with reason and moral clarity. Socrates challenged conventional ideas about wealth, power, and success, arguing that true happiness comes from inner harmony rather than external achievements. His ethical teachings laid the groundwork for later philosophers like Plato, Aristotle, and the Stoics, who expanded on his ideas about virtue, wisdom, and the good life. In 399 BCE, Socrates was put on trial in Athens on charges of corrupting the youth and impiety, specifically, not believing in the city's traditional gods. However, the deeper reasons for his trial were political and cultural. Athens had recently suffered defeat in the Peloponnesian War, and many citizens blamed intellectuals and critics for weakening traditional values. Socrates' habit of questioning powerful people made him a convenient target. During the trial, Socrates defended himself boldly, refusing to flatter the jury or compromise his principles. He argued that he was a benefactor to the city, encouraging citizens to think critically and pursue virtue. When found guilty, he was given the chance to propose an alternative punishment, but instead he suggested he deserved to be rewarded. Ultimately, he was sentenced to death by drinking hemlock. Socrates accepted the verdict calmly, believing it was better to die with integrity than to live by betraying his principles. His trial became a defining moment in the history of free thought. Socrates' death is one of the most iconic moments in philosophical history. Surrounded by his students, he drank the cup of hemlock with composure, continuing to discuss the immortality of the soul until his final moments. His calm acceptance of death demonstrated his belief that a philosopher should not fear the end of life. After his death, His students, especially Plato, preserved his teachings through dialogues that shaped the course of Western philosophy. Socrates' influence can be seen in ethics, logic, education, and political theory. His commitment to questioning authority inspired later thinkers during the Renaissance, Enlightenment, and modern democratic movements. He became a symbol of intellectual freedom, moral courage, and the pursuit of truth. Even today, Socrates is studied not just for his ideas, but for the example he set. A life dedicated to inquiry, integrity, and the belief that wisdom begins with recognizing one's own limitations. Socrates' impact continues to shape modern society in profound ways. His emphasis on questioning assumptions forms the foundation of scientific inquiry, democratic debate, and critical thinking. In education, the Socratic Method encourages students to explore ideas actively rather than passively receiving information. In ethics, his belief that virtue is tied to knowledge influences modern discussions about moral responsibility and personal growth. In politics, Socrates' willingness to challenge authority and speak truth to power remains a model for intellectual independence. His life also raises important questions about freedom of speech, the role of dissent, and the responsibilities of citizens in a democracy. Beyond academia, Socrates inspires individuals to reflect on their lives, examine their beliefs, and pursue meaning with honesty and humility. His legacy reminds us that philosophy is not just a subject but a way of living, a commitment to truth, dialogue, and the continuous search for wisdom. Thank you for watching. If you like this type of content, consider to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more videos.